Yeah. Welcome everyone. We want to encourage you to go ahead and check your audio devices. And we're going to get started actually right now. So welcome to Penn State Berks LionSide Chat, Majorly Prepared series. Come on in and welcome to our campus. We're so glad that you could join us today. My name is Sonia Delaclato, and I'm one of 3 LionSide Chat moderators working alongside Professor Dawn Pfeiffer-Reitz and Dr. Ryan Hassler. Before we get started, we wanted to share that you should please feel free to submit questions throughout the program today via the Q&A feature. We will not be utilizing the raise hand feature during today's presentation. However, once the presentation concludes, we will facilitate a discussion with our Majorly Prepared session facilitators. So we will also be recording today's session so you can revisit the topic or even share the experience with friends and family. So now we are excited to introduce Dr. Jill Burke, our session lead, who will be speaking on careers in humanities, how to be a critical thinker, problem solver, and developer of new ideas with our panel today. So Dr. Burke.
Thank you, Sonia. So I am here along with a number of my colleagues in the Division of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, and a number of Penn State Berks students. And today we will talk with you about what are the humanities, what kinds of majors are in the humanities, and what kinds of jobs or careers do students get or apply for after they finish their undergraduate career with a degree in a humanities type major. So to start, I'm going to share my screen and a presentation, and my colleague, Dr. Michelle Ramsey, will begin by discussing a little bit about the humanities for us.
Hi. I was asked to talk with you today because I co-authored a book with another Berks faculty member that attempted to answer a lot of the questions that you may have today about degrees in the humanities, and specifically to fight back against the narratives that humanities degrees are not going to get you a great career or a great salary. So I want to start off by saying, if I could only tell you 4 things, I'd tell you these 4 things. First of all, you should follow your passion. I have a lot of people that I went to college with that instead of following their passion, they went for majors that they felt would be sort of a good return on investment. And they have jobs and they're doing fine, but they go to work and they go to work to pay the bills, and they don't have a lot of passion about what they're doing with their careers. And so I want you to think very seriously about following your passion. And if that's the humanities, that's where you should land. Second, the humanities are excellent at teaching you the core skills and knowledge most in demand by employers, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Third, if return on investment is your concern, and that's a totally fair concern, the humanities is an excellent choice because of all the career choices that you have. The myths about being a barista your whole life or living in your parents' basement for your whole life simply are not true, and we have plenty of data that bears that out. And then finally, humanities degrees give you a ton of career options. They are passports to pretty much any career you want. So I want to focus the rest of my time on those last 3 points. The primary focus of the second half of our book is doing research on what are the most desired core skills and knowledge and character traits that employers want. And I'm not going to go into the methodology, but this slide here will show you the core skills and knowledge that they are interested in you having. If you'll click it real quick. Yeah, critical thinking, written communication, verbal communication, collaboration skills, problem solving skills, creativity and innovation, technological competence and technological literacy, ethics, diversity, inclusivity, and equality, globalization, global understanding and a global perspective, and leadership. So you may have seen some of these skills called soft skills. And in our book, we argue that we should call these things core skills and knowledge. There's nothing soft about a group of skills that are at the top of pretty much every list of qualifications desired by employers. And they're on another list too, which is the ones that they don't see college graduates having a lot of when they leave. So it's really important to prepare yourself for the world after graduation with developing these core skills and knowledge. Humanities students are well trained in all of these core skills and knowledge, and they're involved in a variety of careers, whether you're talking about business, healthcare, or even STEM industries. Humanities students also have a really, they provide a really important need in today's economy, and that is that they are agile and flexible thinkers and actors, and they're not specialized learners that CEOs are becoming a little more wary of. Our economy is fast changing, it is high tech, and it is more and more global every day. And so having agility of thought and action and ability is really important, and humanities students have that. In fact, some of the most recognizable companies and CEOs of those companies were either founded or are currently being run by humanities students. American Express, Overstock.com, Whole Foods, Campbell's Soup, Chipotle, FedEx, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Merck. All of these companies were either founded or are run by people with humanities degrees. A big part of the push against humanities majors is also about the potential earnings after graduation. And the good news is that according to our data, humanities majors hold up well here. I'm gonna have to move over here, sorry, lights go off randomly. For example, this Georgetown Center Education and Workforce study found that at the beginning of the recovery from the Great Recession in 2011 and 2012, the employment rate for recent graduates in the humanities was only 1.9% higher than engineering, only 1.4% higher than business, and even closer to recent graduates in things like computers, math, and biology. In terms of salary, the same report has really good news for the humanities. This graph shows median annual earnings for four college areas in terms of the money that you'll make right after college, and then the money that you'll make in your peak earning years. It might surprise you to know that the median earning for a new college graduate with a degree in the humanities is slightly higher than those with a physical or a natural sciences degree or a mathematics degree, and only slightly lower than people who have baccalaureates in pre-professional or professional degrees. In addition, while humanities students may start out earning a little bit less than graduates in other areas, with additional time and or education, those differences tend to either equalize, or humanities students tend to rise a little bit more. In fact, if you look at the graph, the median earnings for those between the ages of 56 and 60 with a baccalaureate degree in the humanities is now $2,000 higher per year than someone with a professional or pre-professional degree. And though it's fair to recognize that not everybody is going to recoup a beginning lower salary if that's the case, it is absolutely the case that whether you're talking about right after graduation or in your peak earning years, you are going to be a far cry from poverty in a humanities major. Next slide is the winter 2018 salary study from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and it has even more good news. Note that the humanities average is $56,688, which is nearly equal to business. And what we learned when we were doing our research is that while there is a ceiling on earnings for things like engineering, there's only so far you can go in an organization with very specific technical skills. That's really not the case for humanities majors. They don't tend to have ceilings. That's why you see them as CEOs of all of these major corporations, and you see them as 33% of the majors, not the majors, of world leaders. So there isn't a ceiling for the humanities majors as much as there might be for technical or professional degrees. And other data tell a similar story. The Georgetown Center on Education and Workforce found that in 2015, the much maligned English major made $53,000 and averaged only $1,000 less than molecular biology degrees, $4,000 more than psychology or fine arts degrees, and $5,000 more than neuroscience majors. What's also really important is that humanities students like their jobs. A recent study by the American Academy of Arts and Sciences notes that on every measure studied, things like job location, benefits, and job security, the share of humanities students reporting satisfaction was within 5 percentage points of all other majors. So the good news for students who want to major in the humanities is that choosing a career that makes you happy, but gives you a good livable salary, these are not mutually exclusive things in spite of the narratives that maybe you've heard in public. Finally, I want to focus on the kinds of careers that you can have as a humanities major. The modern and future economies, with all of their global and technological and scientific shifts, are going to need majors in the humanities. We have an economy that is shifting dramatically, quickly, and in the direction of college majors who can think broadly, critically, and ethically. Learning how to think rather than what to think, what I call mind training, is what the humanities do really, really well. And it helps our students become informed citizens and employees who are able to make a big positive difference in the job or even in their communities through effective use of evidence and reasoning and understanding the importance of historical and modern contexts. At the unveiling of the iPad 2 in 2011, Apple co-founder Steve Jobs said this: "It's in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields the results that make our hearts sing." And his successor, Tim Cook, struck a similar theme in his 2017 MIT commencement address when he said, "If science is a search in darkness, then the humanities are a candle that shows us where we have been and the dangers that lie ahead." We are that candle in the dark here in the humanities. And so let me just give you one example. Lately, we've heard a lot about STEM majors and how important they're going to be and what great options they are for life after graduation. And they certainly are, but they're not the only option for a great life after graduation. And part of that STEM acronym is technology. When we think about technology, we tend to think about the hardware and the software that make our computers and our apps run. But the humanities and also the social sciences, which is also part of our division, are also a big part of technology, science, engineering, and math. For example, Amazon's Alexa, which is ubiquitous throughout our homes right now, has a lot of humanities majors on the team deciding what Alexa's responses are going to be, because Alexa's responses have to be keenly aware of historical and political and social and economic context. How is she going to respond to a question about the Me Too movement? How is she going to respond when someone says, "I've been sexually assaulted, what do I need to do?" Humanities students are in the room making these decisions for Alexa. They're also writing technical documents for consumers. They're helping market the product. They're helping teach people how to use the product better. And so they are doing all of this work to help make Alexa so ubiquitous in our homes. And that's just one example. You can pick any STEM, business, or health industry, and you're going to find humanities majors playing key roles in a lot of areas, because these businesses have human resources, they have development offices, they have marketing, they have leadership, and humanities students do really well in those positions. As a humanities students, aside from a few key careers that require really, really technical specific training, you can pretty much go wherever you want to go. We call it a passport to do whatever it is you want to do. So if you love the humanities, major in the humanities. You're going to get better experience in college. You're going to do better in college if you are in a major that you love and you're studying things that you're passionate about. And you can have a career that is fulfilling in all the important ways. And so I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Ramsey. And now what we're going to do is talk about 3 specific humanities-based majors that we have at Penn State Berks. And we have some faculty to discuss those and also some students to share some of their experiences. So the first one that we will talk about, Dr. Weiser will talk about writing and.
Hey, I'm Dr. Weiser. I'm the chair of the Writing and Digital Media major. First of all, just wanted to let you know this is one of the newer majors here. You can advance the slide if you want to. This is one of the newer majors here at Penn State Berks. We were formerly called the professional writing major, but about 2 years ago, we decided we really needed to do a better job of integrating all of the new forms of media, writing for social media, video production, podcasting, all those kinds of things. We wanted to integrate them into the major. So, we started doing that. We are an exclusive major at Penn State Berks, which is kind of unique because what we're seeing with, Penn State's grade 2+2 plan, a lot of students do their 2 years at one campus and then transfer to another one, very often to UP. We're actually seeing some students who do their 2 years somewhere else and then transfer into Penn State Berks to be a part of this new writing and digital media major. So again, our major goal here is to combine together all the skills and abilities you need in traditional print forms of production with the contemporary digital media. Some of our courses are really designed to cover a wide range of different areas. So we cover journalism, creative writing, technical and business writing, along with those newer things like web design, social media, and video and audio production. So really what our goal is with writing and digital media, whereas with certain majors, I feel that students are really tracked into a very sort of narrow focus. With writing and digital media and some of the other humanities-based majors as well that we're going to hear about later, it opens you up to a much wider range of things. And we find that people do tend to, shift jobs multiple times throughout their career. And something like writing and digital media and CAST and some of the other majors, global studies, gives you that ability to really be flexible in a changing career market. So next slide, please. Some of the unique features of this major, well, internships are one of them. We have a really great internship program. We have multiple ways of lining students up with internships, and we've seen people write for magazines, write for some major, media companies in New York and Philadelphia and Baltimore. We've had a couple who have done things like working as script writers for various podcasts. Sometimes they do things that are not what you would traditionally think of, but are very interesting. And one great example was about 3 years ago, we had a student who wound up managing the social media for the Reading hospitals. And this person, started as an intern, and they were basically managing Twitter and the Instagram and all those sorts of things for the Reading Hospital. And after they graduated, Reading Hospital offered them a job as their social media manager, which was great to see that student, take what they learned in their internship and have it turn into a job. And we see that kind of thing happen. We have a strong guest speaker program where we bring in people who are involved in video production, podcasting. We had a journalist from the Washington Post who came and visited us a few years ago. We unfortunately weren't able to have anybody on campus last year, but we're hoping next year we're going to get some people to visit the campus. Another thing that's sort of on pause, but we're hoping to bring back is the Berks Collegian, which is our campus news magazine. That's something that's going to be coming back, and that gives students a sort of hands-on experience doing editing, writing articles, doing the layout design, all those sorts of things with the Berks Collegian. And then finally, we have a capstone class that helps to prepare students. Most students take it in their senior year, some of them take it in their junior year. And it sort of prepares them for life beyond the major and life in the profession. And one of the major things we do there is to create a portfolio of all of your work that you've done in your internship, in your classes. And it really gives our students, I think, a leg up when they go into job interviews and they have a portfolio. Sometimes it's digital, sometimes it's a physical print portfolio, and they can go into those interviews and somebody will say, well, tell me what you've done as far as magazine layout, and they can show you 10 articles that they've designed that have been published. It's a real benefit for people who are in, we're sort of affiliated with English major, which Michelle talked about a little bit. And I feel like this gives us a leg up on all those English majors who, have many of the skills, but, without a portfolio, they don't have something physical that they can show sometimes. So just to sort of sum up, just a little bit about some of the various careers that are available for people in writing and digital media. Well, first of all, one of the quickest growing areas is writing for websites and social media. We're seeing a huge growth in that area, and we're training students in that. Editing and copywriting are, sort of the bread and butter of what writing and digital media students are doing. And as more of that goes online, the digital media aspect of that becomes more important. We also focus on technical and business writing as one of the major career areas in writing and digital media. And, despite what some people may be thinking, news writing and journalism is not dead, it's just changing. A lot of it's going online. And we're preparing our students for careers in writing and digital media. And then finally, some of the newest things that we're doing, we have students, actively learning how to produce videos, how to write videos, how to edit videos. Many of our classes integrate podcasting. So students are learning those skills that are really at the forefront of what's happening in writing and digital media today. And we're really excited about it. And we have one of our top students here who's going to say a few words about his experience as a student in the new writing and digital media major, and that's Nicholas Kopp.
Thank you, Dr. Weiser. Yeah, absolutely. The degree has been fantastic for me so far because it's just so flexible. You have so many different avenues that you can go down. You can work on video production and podcast production. Dr. Milligan's classes are fantastic for that. He'll teach you all sorts of things about website design. You'll get into some CSS and HTML coding even. You'll get into a little bit of that. You might have to learn a little more outside of the classroom, but you'll get some of that. And then you'll do some podcasting and video production. Dr. Weiser has a fantastic class called Digital Cultures, which is basically where you learn about how the digital sphere is changing conversation in the world. So how our conversations online are changing versus normal traditional conversations in person. So now there's a more instantaneous conversation that's happening and things can be done quicker. And it's also just altering overall how things are done. So it's just been great to work with all of the different styles of communication and experimenting, because that's a lot of what you'll be doing in the major. You'll be experimenting with all kinds of different forms of media, even, traditional texts. I know in Dr. Milligan's classes, we've done zines, which are kind of like mini magazines you can make, things of those styles, as well as obviously the digital side of things. So podcast production and video production, which are sort of the things that I really love to do most. And yeah, it really just gets you in there trying different things, and you come out of it with sort of an idea of what you might want to do when it's all said and done. But yeah, I love the major and I appreciate that I found it. So thank you, Dr. Weiser.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for talking with us about writing and digital media. We'll now talk about another major that we have in the Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences division, and it's our Global Studies major.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zora Milawa Schaefer. I am the chair of the Global Studies program at Penn State Berks. I just want to highlight a few things about this major, which is it's the only major in the Penn State system. I know that when you Google global studies, you might see global international studies. I want to just make sure that the global international studies, it's a major at UP, which is more focused on foreign languages, statistics, and math. It's a little bit different to our global studies here at Berks. So Our program promotes intercultural understanding and sensitivity to diversity and prepares our students for a variety of global-oriented careers. And in order to do this, students take courses about all major world regions and issues that connects those regions. For example, you see on the list of courses, the international law course, that course connects global regions while providing students with unique opportunities to meet with global professionals. We also work closely with the Regional World Affairs Council of Reading, and they organize monthly lunches with, they invite speakers, global experts, speakers, and our students, they participate, and they are often all or most of the time invited to this presentation. They offer also annual trips to important institutions in New York and Washington, DC. In my next slide, you will see, I will talk about their trips to DC and also to New York. So along with courses, or another example of courses is the globalization course that you see on the list. So with this course, it's a political, cultural, economic consequences of globalization. It addresses all these issues. And I want to mention that most of our courses are interdisciplinary courses, like the media, like the writing and digital media courses that you've seen earlier. The globalization, an example, it is cross-listed with business program. We have courses on terrorism that you see on the list too, that is cross-listed with criminal justice. So because of the flexibility of this program, students could also minor in different other disciplines. For instance, we have students who they are in global studies and they can minor in business, in communications, arts and sciences, in writing, digital media. They can minor in security risk analysis, in Spanish, etc. So it is really to show the flexibility and the broad of our courses. Another aspect that is really unique to global studies, we require our students to study abroad and also to do an international internship. So while they are abroad, they can also study and work abroad. And this is really a unique opportunity for our students to follow. We had students who, like in 18 years or so of the existence of the program, who have been in over 40 countries in the Americas, in Europe, in Africa, Asia, Pacific, you name it. So there are no limits where they can study abroad or intern abroad. So also another, and I have a student who will share his study abroad experience. Student will have also they can do internship, regional here, but it has to have the international component. So we are here working with them to have them as global citizens. Now, career-wise, after graduation, and because of the flexibility and the broad nature of the program, we have students who get employed in a wide range of jobs in political research. We have students who are business analysts, law enforcement, education, migration law, non-profits organization, students who work in global NGOs, study abroad coordinator, diplomacy, UN advisors, and more. I mean, the list could be really, we had students who worked in a wide range of careers of their choices. Beside that, for those other students who also, many of them choose to pursue graduate studies, and the Global Studies program prepares them for, we have students who went to law school, who also went to professional schools like the International School, School of International Affairs. They pursue international politics, development studies. We have students who also pursue those graduate studies. So this is just an overview of the program, and I will go to the next slide. Just want to share with you in the top middle picture. You will see this is one of our students who is, when he was with us, he graduated last May. So he is now pursuing a master's degree of the school at the School of International Affairs at UP. And this picture was taken when he attended the World Affairs Council, the National World Affairs Council in Washington, DC. You see students where they did internships. For instance, the lower right corner, Emily, she interned in Thailand, and she is now works as a political analyst at the Capitol in Harrisburg. The top right corner, Elizabeth interned here or did her study abroad also in New Zealand, and she works as a business analyst. And on the lower left corner, you can recognize one of our presenters today. Zach is on the picture there with Josh, and Zach is a senior in global studies, and he's one of the last students who had the chance to study abroad last spring. We know with the situation, our students, they are not going abroad yet, but Zach is here, he's a senior, and I'm glad to invite him to present to talk about his experience within the program and also in study abroad.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Schaefer. As she said, my name is Zachary Vicario. I'm a senior in global studies. What's nice about this major is it gets you ready for the more globalized world that we live in today. We live closer together than what we think, than what we have in the past. And what these courses do that both Dr. Schaefer, Dr. Fegley, Dr. Newnham, and a few others, what they do is they teach you and give you knowledge about the different peoples, the cultures, everything from the past, present, and the future. And it gives you a better perspective on how to handle certain things within this more globalized world that we live in. And if you do take this major or even as a minor, you need to become a better global citizen. And what that means is you're open-minded and you have a better viewpoint on different cultures, on different peoples. and it's not so one-sided or closed-minded as most people may seem to be. But what this does is it just makes you a better person to people you may not be too familiar with. But my study abroad, I went to London, as you can see on these pictures. I went through a program called CIEE. I went last spring. I went from January of 2020 until March of 2020. And unfortunately, as Dr. Schaefer said, it got cut short because of COVID. But what's nice is their semesters are broken up into 3 blocks. So you take different courses each block. And each block you go on a trip. So I went to Brighton, England, and to Bath. The picture on the church on the bottom and the little park on the top, those were near Bath. And the bottom left photo is one of the only white telephone booths that's in throughout the entire UK. And if we want to move to the next slide, please. Here's a few other photos of London. The Churchill War Rooms is on the top, and Churchill's house is in the middle there to the right-hand side of the Imperial War Museum. But what's nice about going to study overseas is you get to meet a lot of people from around not only the US, but the country you're going to, and the connections that you make with the professors and the students there will last a lifetime. I actually still keep in touch with the professor that I had over there. And I'm planning on going back again this summer to finish up my study abroad. And my goal is to be able to move over there and finish my graduate degree.
All right, thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Professor Meloa Schaefer, for sharing with us about global studies. So I'm going to not finalize, but conclude our presentation with the last major that we're going to talk about, and that is communication arts and sciences. And we affectionately call that CAS at PSU Berks. So that's why I have our abbreviation in case you are in conversation with someone and they say a CAS major. So what do we do in CAS? Well, we study the theory and practice of human communication, and it's a liberal arts-based major. And the reason that I say that is you heard from our other faculty today very much about what it means to take courses that are interdisciplinary in nature, courses that allow us to talk a lot about ideas so that when we get out into the workforce and become full citizens within the world that we live, we're able to shift and pivot as the world changes around us and we become part of that world. So that's what one of the ways that I interpret what a liberal arts major is. So in CAS, our major focuses on the human communication process. So we talk about how communication functions in a variety of contexts. And these contexts include things like public communication, interpersonal relationships, and organizational cultures. So many of our classes in CAS, if we like to think about how they're grouped together, we have classes that study communication or the communication process in contexts. So classes like that are things such as how does communication function in the family? So we have a class called family communication. How does communication function in intercultural contexts and intercultural relationships? So we have a class that discusses the communication process within an intercultural setting. And the same then with organizations. So how does human communication function within organizations? And then what are the nuances of the communication process within all of those contexts? So those are just 3 examples of classes that we have in the communication arts and sciences major to demonstrate what classes look like as far as studying communication in particular contexts. We also have classes that focus on strategic communication in the sense of the focus and perspective of the class is thinking about messages, the creation of messages, thinking about audience and audience analysis, and really focused on sort of that strategic aspect of the human communication process. Classes like that are classes in rhetorical theory, to think and where we think about and ground the different philosophies and theories of persuasion, and then how those look, in sort of the world in which we function. We have classes in communication ethics, where we are thinking about decision making and thinking about, as a human communicator, how do I make decisions? What words do I use? A focus on thinking poignantly on that communication matters and language matters. And then as a decider of that, how do I ethically make decisions, and how do I frame messages and think about the language that I use in my message making? And then another example of a class would be that in business and professional communication. So thinking about our, creation of messages within that professional and organizational setting. So that would be a focus of that class. So those are just a few examples of some of the classes that students take within communication arts and sciences. So, what kinds of careers do people get? Well, there are a lot of different pathways that students can go on if they choose to become a communication arts and sciences major. And, I think that this a lot of if we were to have themes within this presentation, one of these themes would be opportunities, because within all of the majors that we talked about, there's a lot of different opportunities, and we see our students go on lots of different paths. Our students don't necessarily do one thing. They do a lot of different things. So we see students get communication careers in agencies, corporate and nonprofit organizations. Some of our students are really interested in management and sales. We have students who go into human resources. We also have students who are interested in working in organizations or human resources as trainers. So they go from place to place and talk about, if an organization is implementing a new software, they're the ones teaching that software and training the employees to use that type of software. We have students that are interested in government organizations. Students work in nonprofit organizations. Students work in NGOs. Anywhere, any type of organization has a communication person in it, or a team of people. And so we have our students working within, we have communication students working in a variety of different sectors. We have students who are really interested in government and politics. We've had some students work in political consulting. We've had students work in lobbying. We've had students get jobs with certain candidates in political campaigns and do a lot of political communication and strategy and work with different political candidates. And we've had students work in public communication offices as well, being that communication liaison between perhaps a political figure and their constituency. And we also have students who pursue graduate school, whether they're interested in graduate school within communication arts and sciences. And we've had some students choose to go on to law school as well. Communication arts and sciences is a really great foundational major for students who want to study law, because we do a lot of reading, we do a lot of thinking, we do a lot of critical analysis of ideas, and that has served students well for furthering a career in law. So what can I do with a CAS degree? I just put up here, I'm not going to read all of these, but these are some of the job titles that our recent alums have had. Okay, so these aren't necessarily alums that have been out 20 years. They're alums that have been out, graduated from Penn State Berks within 5 to 10 years, and the types of jobs that they're getting. Content creator, public relations manager, employment specialist, campaign organizer, lawyer, communication professor. So there are lots of different places that our communication arts and sciences students can go. And I think that one of the takeaways from this presentation and all of the discussions that the faculty have had and the students have had is that as a student in the humanities, we really encourage our students to pursue their passions and really love what they're thinking about and reading and studying and discussing within the classroom. And by doing that, students tend to find their space. They tend to find their jobs. They tend to find what they want to do. And if students don't know that right away when they're 18, that's okay in the humanities, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to explore different ideas. And that's what our humanities majors really do. I think that I can speak for my colleagues, hopefully, in saying that. Our humanities-based majors are also flexible in the sense that some of the faculty and students talked about the idea that many of our students double major, or they also pick up minors in a lot of these areas so that they can further pursue that passion, because many of our humanities-based major students love lots of things. So our majors allow them to still have that love for the lots of things. And we encourage things such as double majoring or also minoring in other areas. So I'm going to, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to close with a time for questions for the students here, the faculty here. And I think Sonia is going to lead that question and answer session. Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you all so much. This is so good. And I love getting to hear not just the faculty perspective, but hearing how the synergy kind of develops between you and your students. So thank you so much. And I would like to go ahead and start off our question and answer with a comment, actually. An anonymous attendee is just sharing that they love the passionate presentation today from the presenters and that they learned about the Haas program. So thank you all on our panel. Clearly we have some fans out in our audience. If it's okay, I would like to invite Zach or Nick to comment on this next question. I know that you heard a lot of information today as a student. Was there anything else that you wanted to share or something that spurred you like, oh, I should have mentioned this? Or is there any other comments that either of you would like to share today before we close?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what I believe Jill mentioned. I've changed my major about 3 times since starting college. So please do not feel rushed or down that you can't figure out what you want to do right away. Thankfully, Dr. Schaefer pulled me in a few years ago and really set my head straight. And I found something that I'm very passionate about. So please don't feel rushed, take your time, take some classes, and it will come to you in time. So I just don't feel bad. Just trust me on this.
I'd absolutely agree with Zach. Yeah, I was a computer engineer student when I started, and I realized that that wasn't really what I wanted to do. It was a bit more math oriented, and I realized I wanted to do more things that were creative and maybe video production, things like that. So when you start college, you might not have a perfect idea of where you want to end up, but you'll figure it out along the way. Just keep going along, you'll get it.
Great, thank you both so very much. And actually, the next question that we have are, we heard a lot about how we can learn, what we can learn in the humanities. And I was hoping to hear from the faculty a little bit more about what are some of the qualities that successful students in your program, such as Zach and Nick, what are those qualities? Like if I'm a prospective student, I'm thinking like, is this going to be a good fit for me? What are those qualities that you think these students possess that would be a good fit for your major?
I'll start. I think that students in I'll speak from my major, but I think other faculty would agree. They like to read. They like to write. They like to think about ideas from different perspectives than their own, and they are willing and able to do that. And they like to think big.
I would just sort of add on to that and say something similar. I would say that curiosity is one of the major features that I see of our students, because students in these majors, they wind up doing lots of different things, and just to have a curiosity to communicate with other people and to learn about things and to read, is a real attribute, and takes them pretty far, I think.
Yeah, I echo all what my colleagues mentioned. I also notice in global studies, our students, they come with the passion to want to learn more about the world, about, other cultures. They want to travel and experience other places. And even, they want to be involved and know more about politics, which our poli-sci, courses come into place. So we receive students from all, type of interest, and especially those, they have that passion of knowing what's going on in the world.
I would add too that one of the things I see consistently in our students in CAS is a desire to just make the world a better place. And I know that seems cliche, but it's consistent in my experience. And whether it is a student that wants to work in a non-governmental agency or a nonprofit agency as a career, or it's a student who, in addition to working towards human resources or video management or social media direction, in their spare time, they tend to have a lot of desire to do things in their communities to make them better. And so I would say that regardless of whether I'm teaching my CAS majors or other majors in the humanities, there's lots and lots of heart, and they give me a lot of hope.
I just got the chills when you said that. Thank you. Great responses. No, I'm serious. I really did. So thank you for all of those thoughtful and inspirational answers. And actually, we just had a question come in here. So can any of you add how students from the majors described today work with engineering majors? I know there's a lot of collaboration and teamwork in the world with these majors working together.
I can answer a little bit based on our research. It's absolutely the case that, as I think Jill said, all organizations typically have public communication programs, and so or offices, and so our majors can go, and I'd say this for any of the majors, can go to those different places, whether it be an engineering firm or a medical firm, and they can participate in the decisions that are made about how to communicate things to the public. We only need to look at our lives in the last year and how important information, and especially strategic information on COVID, on masks, on the vaccine. You can have all the science you want, and science, of course, did amazing things over the last year, but if you don't have people who can effectively and persuasively communicate those messages, you don't have as great an outcome.
I can mention just one quick example of a project that my classes have been involved with over the last few years. We have a program at Penn State Berks called the PAYDEP program, and basically that brings together students in engineering, business, occupational therapy, and writing and digital media. And basically what this team does, for our end, it's our English 419, which is an advanced business and technical writing class. This team of students from these different disciplines find some need in the community. Like, for example, in the past, they did an oxygen reel. They've done things like assistive devices, and they work with the engineers to design that device and then to create the documents to sort of market it and advertise it. And the goal is to try and find a market or some organization that would actually put this into production. So it's been a great sort of like real world hands-on project, and it's been really cool to see our writers and our designers work with the engineering students and the business students to talk about, what is this device going to look like? How much is it going to cost? Who's the target audience? And, the occupational therapy students are working on what need does this serve for a community of people who might need it. So it's been a really cool project. We've done it for about 3 or 4 years, and we're going to do it again next year as well in our English 419 class. So that's one way that we work with students in other areas.
Same here in global studies, and I did mention in my earlier my presentation that we offer courses that where we have business students, the 440 globalization course, and it's offered for business students. And I want to also mention that our study abroad in international internships, it's where our students use their skills, either wherever programs they come from, if they are from business or from criminal justice or from other disciplines. They find the internship that is where they can use those skills. And we had the students who worked as a researcher in hospitals, like in Sweden. We have students who worked or interned in NGOs, with NGOs abroad. So, and most of the time, those students, they get offered jobs abroad. And I know most of the parents, I don't like to mention that because parents don't like their kids to live abroad, but from our experience in the program that it is a great opportunity. And we had students from all disciplines and interests. And as I mentioned, they bring their skills, and we really help them use them in anywhere they want.
Thank you all so very much for sharing this information, and what great interdisciplinary opportunities exist here at Berks, especially when you see the depth and breadth of knowledge that's available both inside and out of the classroom. So thank you all so very much. Actually, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap up today's session. So I would like to thank our panelists again for chatting with us today, especially about how humanities strengthens our core skill sets. I'm going to retrain myself, Michelle. And I, for one, am feeling majorly prepared. So thank you again for all of you, our audience, joining us for today's program and the LionSide Chat Majorly Prepared series. As you click out of the webinar, you'll actually gain access to a survey. And we're asking that you please give us our feedback, even suggest other ideas for our programs that we're going to offer here as future chats. You're encouraged to reach out to us via email, and we want to remind you to keep checking our website as we're always coming up with new chats. And our next chat, actually Majorly Prepared, is on Monday, February 22nd at 7 p.m., where you can learn more about discovery engineering here at Penn State Berks. So be sure to come back soon and meet with other faculty, staff, or students to learn about our exciting majors and experiences that you can be a part of here at Penn State Berks. So stay safe, Berks and beyond. And signing off until next time, this has been the Penn State Berks LionSide Chats. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.